Welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. It's good to have you along. And today, joined in the studio by a man who I look up to and who I've followed for many years, Robin Peterson. How are you, buddy?
I'm okay, Good to be here, man. Thanks.
So tell me about, wow, man, you're like well known in South African cricket, but tell me about the earlier days of you growing up in Port Elizabeth, where you went to school. Tell us about those early days before you even knew that you were going to be a cricketer. Tell us about those early days.
Yeah, so cricket was interesting back then. Actually, I grew up in Port Elizabeth, been in Cape Town for 10 years now, so I've married a Cape Town girl, so probably a little bit more Cape Townian these days than from PE. So it's been great. I think when I started, you didn't even think of cricket as a profession. It wasn't that professional then. People did get paid, but not very much. So you sort of progress through the ranks, EP schools, SS schools, and you go to academies, and then someone just likes you and gives you a chance.
Is that how it happens? Is that how it works?
You need a bit of luck. A lot of hard work.
You played cricket at high school level, obviously.
Yeah.
Which high school did you go to?
Alexander Road High in Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
Same school as Brett Schultz, coincidentally.
Oh, I know Brett, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're the only two Proteas players from our school. So
wow.
Not a traditional cricketing school, but very good school.
Did you play at the time that he was playing?
No, he's a little bit older than me. He probably hate me for saying this.
We love you, Brett.
But yeah, he's a little bit older than me, but no, we still stay in touch,
Okay.
I think I know his family very well. His family don't live too far from my parents.
Yeah.
So
I saw you guys were at the Cape Town Sixers, the cricket Sixers. Yeah,
the Sixers, so obviously just reconnect with people you know.
But his career was kind of cut short because he had an injury which kind of persisted, and he had to stop his career. He was. I remember watching him going to watch. They used to call it Western Province back then, not the Cobras. It was and that was hectic times, man. So tell me about. So you played cricket at high school level. Does somebody come watch, or do you have scouts in cricket, or how does it work? Do you have to go and play certain tournaments, or?
I think they're a lot more organized, the structures of Cricket South Africa now. They've got scouts at all these weeks to identify players that can play for South Africa. So, I mean, that's been an improvement. I think when I started playing, it was basically they trusted your coach really in terms of is he good enough, and okay, let's pick him and give him opportunity. So
every coach has their favorites, obviously.
Exactly, but I think the opposition coaches too, just to confirm the point. But yeah, I think that's how it was. So it's a lot more professional these days. There's a lot more. If you're talented, you can come through the system a lot quicker. So it wasn't quite the same back then. But I guess someone just took a punt at you, and here you are today. You've had the opportunity to play for your country, and to be blessed like that is amazing.
So you started playing for Eastern Province?
Started playing for Eastern Province just out of school. I made my debut in '97, so coincidentally my 20th year of first class cricket this year. So
that's hectic, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. I can still remember the day clearly.
25, which is amazing, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. I made it at 5 years old. No, it was. I can still remember that day. The game didn't really go according to plan, and I think I got a pair, and I think I took 1 wicket or something.
Oh, wow.
I still remembered Andrew Hall, but yeah, it was a long time ago. So yeah,
were you nervous that day? You must have been like your first game at professional level. I'm sure they take into consideration the nerves, or do they not?
I don't think I was nervous or anything. I think I just didn't know what to expect. You're playing with guys you grew up watching at St. George's Park every weekend. Merrick Pringle, Mark Rushmere, Aldine Baptiste. So it was like, Nunty Hayward, all these legends, guys that have played for South Africa before, and now you're this kid, 18 years old, just thrust in and to play with him. I don't think I was nervous. I think I just, wanted to see what it really was about, and just see whether you're actually good enough to play at that level.
And the training at that level, how does it work? Do you train every day, or what do you do?
Yes, that's how cricket has changed dramatically. Back then it was office job, come to nets at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because you're training in summer and you have a good couple of hours of training. And now it's you into the gym, couple of hours, breakfast. It's a job. Yeah, it's a job now. It's a full day's work, and you have your net, your gym, and then you have your net session. Then you still have your individual sessions, and then so it's become a lot more professional these days.
So Robin Peterson, playing for South Africa, getting that phone call. How does that phone call happen? Who phones you, and how was that like experience for you in that moment, saying, Robin Peterson, you're going to be playing for South Africa? How does that feel that in that moment? And do you remember that phone call?
I do remember the phone call. I'm not sure who the convener of selector was at the time, but yeah, you got the phone call, and then you know, it's a bit surreal as well. You don't really believe it at first, but then you know, I got the opportunity to go and tour with him to Sri Lanka as a 20-year-old. So it was a bit young in my opinion, you know, to be picked. You didn't really know whether you're good enough at first-class cricket, let alone international cricket. But you know, what an opportunity to go and play with all these superstars. So yeah, I really learned a lot. It was a great tour for me. In terms of learning, I didn't get to play a game, but in terms of learning, I think, you know, I realized what the step up was to international cricket and how these guys conduct themselves outside of cricket. So that was a definite eye-opener and made me realize how hard you need to work to get there.
When was that, in 98, 99?
That was 98, 99.
Okay. And who was the captain then for South Africa? Do you remember?
Captain of the time was Sean Pollock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we still talk about it, have a bit of banter about it, asking him what was he thinking picking a 20-year-old. So, yeah, anyway.
And who were you playing? Well, you never played, but you rubbed shoulders with the greats of Sri Lankan cricket back then, right? Mulathan, was he still playing?
I remember back then it was Mahela Jawardena was making his debut in that series.
Oh, did he make his debut? Wow.
I think Kumar Sangakkara was one of the talked about players back then. You know,
and the mighty spinner Mulathan, was he?
Mulathan, the first time we saw him in action, it totally destroyed us, as it did every other team. But yeah, it was a great tour. I mean, that tour, South Africa drew the series, you know, they didn't lose it. It was 1-1 in a 3-match test series. So I learned a lot about being absolutely destroyed in one test match, the pressure that's on to try and win the second, and you know, unfortunately, I think the third was rain affected. So, you know, I learned a different emotion than goes along playing international cricket.
And then after that, what was your first game for South Africa? Do you remember that?
Yeah, my debut game was a one-day game. It was against India in the semi-final. Actually, went back to Sri Lanka a few years later. So, you know, maybe things happen for a reason. I sort of know what to expect and everything. I played against India in the semi-final of the Champions Trophy, so it was quite cool.
And did you meet the man, Tendulkar?
Yeah, I bowled my first ball at him.
Oh, really?
So,
wow.
So it was quite cool. I think he got run out of my bowling. I claimed that as a wicket. So yeah, it was. Is that
really intimidating for you when you get to stand up against those giants that you grew up watching on TV? Is that intimidating in that moment? You're like bowling to this man. Does that play a role in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's more excitement really. I don't think it's like intimidation. I think you just like, you actually realize that we both cricketers here, regardless of what you've achieved, what I haven't. We're just cricketers on the day, and that's the great thing about the game is that, I mean, you respect people for what they did, but at the end of the day, you're just cricketers. You're just both doing what you love, and you realize that very quickly when you walk on the park with all these, you know, superstars. So